Hello and welcome back to Co-Creation Station, everyone. The podcast where we talk about spiritual magic, the mind-body-spirit connection, and all sorts. I don't have my script right now, so the art of allowing, the art of law of attraction, how to understand this crazy, amazing miracle we call life. My name's Collin. I'm a teacher, tarot oracle card reader, and musician.
My name is Stephanie, and I am a transformational life coach, and I help people shift away from negative thinking, and life transforms for them.
Oh, and I'm in
San Diego, California.
And I'm in North Hollywood, California. My sister, Dr. Kelly Worster, who's a chiropractor, is joining us again. And she is coming to us from Portland, Maine. And this is episode 24 of season 2. We're recording this on Sunday, October 31st. So it's Halloween for us, but for you, this is going live sometime later in November. I don't remember what date. But happy November. So we are going to continue our discussion. We had a last episode. We started our conversation more spontaneously than we usually do about, in terms of the law of attraction of art of allowing, how time works, how planning can fit into spiritual planning can fit into getting what you want, all that kind of sort of stuff. And now we're picking up. So Stephanie, you seem to be the clearest on where we would pick up. So.
Well, I know that we wanted to have Kelly on, and we wanted to talk about demonstration, leap of faith, and indicators. So, Kelly, why don't you read? You want to read what you have, or do you want to go from somewhere else? Did you have more to say on that?
So this is from, I'll show it once more for those of you who weren't on last week. This is the Florence Scovel-Shinn reader. It has all 4 of her books in it. She was a metaphysicist teacher. One of the, if you've seen the movie The Secret, and they talk about looking up old readings and so on, she's one of the original law of attraction, art of allowing teachers, and she lived in New York City.
Do you know who her teacher was? Do you know who her teacher was?
No, I don't. No.
Yeah, I was kind of curious about that.
Because she was originally artist and just got into it. It doesn't mention in the book that background, so it's interesting. I'm sure if we did a deep dive on the internet, we might be able to find out. But she used to have clients. She would have people come to her and ask her to help them manifest things. And this was in the early 1900s. And so she, in her writing, she talked a lot about, just has so many examples, which is very helpful.
She gives that, I know. Yeah, it makes it more tangible.
She gives the principles, the affirmations that go along with the principles. She talks about laws of the universe. She has different laws: law of surprises, law of completion, and then she gives an example of how it worked, and you can see it in her example. It's great. So so a little bit about demonstrations. A demonstration is just frankly speaking the word. So word means power in her writings. And she also, I want to say, she's Christian. I mean, she brings in Christianity and belief in God into her writings as well, but it's not, she also says infinite spirit. And so she talks about how I want to say that because it's not exclusive from what the metaphysical and what she's talking about. She's like, this is how you work with spirit in general. So the demonstration is speaking your word, making your demands upon the universe. And then she said, and then don't do anything until you get a definite lead.
And would that be inspiration?
Yes, leads are inspiration. So the affirmation is demanding the lead or the inspiration, saying infinite spirit or universe, however you want to say it, reveal to me the way. Let me know if there's anything for me to do. So isn't that interesting? Let me know if there's anything for me to do. We assume we have to do like all this stuff, but that was like, let me know if. And last time we talked about, that can be the cosmic 2x4, the more gentle cosmic billboard.
Yeah, I like just your let me know. Billboard.
And I tried to find this in the book, but I couldn't find it. But it was, she has a phrase. It's something like, and let me and show it to me in a way that I know without a doubt that it is from you. Remember that?
Yes.
It's so cool.
Yeah.
And when you ask for that, you get it. I in my experience, I get it every time, and it's magical. And she says things like, a big demonstration from a person is often preceded by tormenting thoughts, because a big and bold statement of spiritual truth challenges all we have been taught and conditioned to believe in. We have been educated to believe in appearances.
Oh, freak.
And to believe that spiritual truth is all crap, too good to be true.
What, say that? All crap? What did it say?
So we have been educated to believe in appearances and to believe that spiritual truth is too good to be true.
Oh, too good to be true.
So because we have been taught that a big and bold statement of spiritual truth is difficult for us.
Yeah, because all of our doubts, all of our beliefs, all of the things that we've been taught, all the things we've been showed is counter to that. So that stuff's going to come up, which is great, because then we get to look at it and like, oh, is that true? Is that how I want to, live? Where did that come from?
And this is really funny. She says, demonstrations often come at the 11th hour, because it is then that man stops reasoning and infinite intelligence has its chance to work.
Well, that's right along with the Abraham take a nap thing.
Yeah, we get out of our own way.
Get out of the way.
And yes. And
sorry, Kelly, can you define demonstration again for me? I think you might have said it, but I missed it a little bit.
Yep, it is the spoken word. It is the demand upon the universe.
So her use of the word demand and the use of the word demonstration are the same thing. So that's like our expression to the universe of what we want.
Yes, but it is the spoken word. And she was very clear on that it needs to be spoken. It can't just be something that we, have in our minds. It can be, but her thing was the most powerful thing that man has. Again, the gender thing, she was at the turn of the century. So,
and there is a book that's rewritten in the feminine form.
Yeah, right. Yeah. So she said that that the spoken word is the most powerful thing that man has.
And again, take what you like and leave the rest.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, for me, I think you're talking about. Also, she's writing at a time where, like, photography has just been invented. We don't have motion pictures yet. Books are the most sophisticated form of the spoken word. So there's nothing like, you can't use Microsoft Word to create like an affirmation, stick it on your bulletin board, things like that. So, I mean, I feel like when we talk about visual, because what seems like it goes along with that to me is that there's a component that is external, meaning you could speak it out loud, you could read it, from a piece of paper, you could look at a picture, but then there's also I guess I should ask about this. So does she talk about anything about like what we talk about the vibration or the feeling that creates, or does she just not even get into that?
I didn't read that. I mean, I've read all of her writings many years ago, and yesterday I just picked up the book and just started reading random chapters, and I didn't read anything about that. But yeah, I mean, that's definitely a big piece of it, right?
Well, that would be my interpretation. Is like I don't mean to put words in her mouth or whatever, but or misinterpret her. But what it feels like she's saying is like if you speak the word, like if you say it out loud, what she's not saying there, but it's sort of implied, is that if you have faith in that, if you have belief in that you're going to say this thing out loud, and that means that spiritually it's going to come to you, then that's going to put you in an emotion and a vibration of attracting, allowing, good feelings, whatever. You're not going to, like, it seems, and because it seems like she specifically talked about using the spoken word and not having a good vibration around it. Like something, now I can't remember if it was last episode or this episode, but you read something about how, our biggest issue as humans is that we'll say it, but we don't believe that it's going to be, that it's done, that it's spiritually done.
Right. That it's perfect and complete. It's a perfect and complete idea in divine mind. And that's why she would have clients. She would have clients and they would speak this word for me, make a demonstration for me, because they couldn't do it for themselves.
Because they knew
that was her
she
job.
would have the vibration. Yeah.
Yes.
But that still is, it's like an extra step, but it's the same thing. It's like you still have to have the vibration. They're just saying, well, if I speak it, I'm not going to believe it. But if you speak it and I'm in your presence and I see you speak it because you're believing it, then I'm going to believe it, which is putting me in the correct vibration, the correct energy.
And she would also give them steps.
Yeah.
She would also give them, here's an affirmation, here's a step. So
and they believe that, which
yeah.
puts them in the right vibration.
Right. So she gave an example of this woman who she spoke, made a demonstration for this woman. And so this is about the completion. So if you don't mind, if I can read a paragraph from this. So, and I have an experience with this too. One of my students was in need of a financial demonstration. She came to me and asked why it was not completed. I replied, perhaps you are in the habit of leaving things unfinished and the subconscious has gotten into the habit of not completing. So as the without, so the within. So the universe is responding in kind, like she doesn't complete things, so we're not completing things. That's what she means. And so the woman said, I'll go home and finish something I commenced weeks ago, and I know it will be symbolic of my demonstration. So that's another thing that's really cool, symbolic of demonstration. And so she sewed assiduously, and the article was soon completed. Shortly after, the money came in a most curious manner. Her husband was paid his salary twice that month. He told the people of their mistake, and they sent word to keep it. When man asks, believing, he must receive, for God creates his own channels.
Sorry, go ahead.
I wanted to tell you a brief story about this. So when I read that, this was back, oh my God, 15, 16 years ago. I read symbolic of my demonstration. That really hit me. And I was like, wow, what could I do? So I was kind of stuck at the time. I had just gotten divorced and I was living on my own, and I had to move to Georgia, and I had to find an apartment somehow. And I had no idea how any of that was going to happen. And I was going to go to chiropractic school down there. And so when I read symbolic of the demonstration, so I, spoke the word, made my demands upon the universe. I want to go to Georgia in the perfect time, in the perfect way, go to chiropractic school. And so the symbolic piece of the demonstration for me was, I said, okay, how much do I need? I was led, I got the definite lead. Figure out how much it's going to cost you to do that. So I did.
So sorry, can you really quickly talk about what that was? Like, how did that, because if I understand what you're saying correctly, you're saying that you asked for guidance from the universe.
Yep.
And you were given the guidance, but how did that guidance come to you?
Through trusted advisors.
So it came through humans.
Yes, it came through humans.
But when you heard it from them, correct me if I'm off, but I just want to clarify. When you heard it from them, in your heart, your spirit, you felt like, oh, that's the guidance I was looking for. It resonated.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. I was like, I need clarity on the dollar amount this is going to cost me first. And so I got that dollar amount, and then I got another definite lead. Again, another trusted advisor, talking to friends about it. And they said, well, what if you did this? And, other friends are like, what if you did this? What if you did that? What if you did, this other thing? And for me, I really resonated with okay, start asking family and friends for this amount. And so I called all of my family and friends, emailed, whatever. And I said, I'm raising $5,000 so I can go to chiropractic school.
Oh my God.
And right now, like I put $100 of my own money in that account to start. That was also a trusted advisor who said, get, like attracts like, get the money in the account to start. And so I called and emailed many people, and they all contributed something. And a couple of weeks later, I had $5,000 and I could go. And so for me, that was some people could say, okay, that was definitely, you were getting leads. you are getting divine inspiration towards your goal, and that's true. But also I felt that that was, you know, symbolic. Like, I'm going to act as if I'm going to do this. And if it nothing comes of it, if I'm getting blocks,
Yeah.
if it fizzles out, if it doesn't feel right, then I know that this isn't the way. But obviously it was the way.
Yeah. Well, and I think it's interesting because oftentimes when we hear the story, we're like, oh, yeah, well, of course, right?
Right. Yeah, for you, maybe that works.
Or, oh, that makes sense, you know, like, oh,
Yeah.
of course, your friend. But that's always, you know, like they say, what is it? Hindsight is 2020. And so,
Right.
you know, we don't know. Just like if you were there now, we would be like, is that even possible? Would people even do that? No one's gonna, you know
Right.
what I mean?
How could you
Have
ask people
how,
for money?
all this
That sounds
doubt.
desperate, or oh
Yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
But you were open, you were willing, this was something you really wanted. And so you were taking some type of action, like you said, symbolic of my demonstration. So I heard a lot of willingness and then asking for help.
Mm-hmm.
And then noticing how it felt and going with what felt you were called to, you know, do.
Mm-hmm.
I
Wow,
think
that's a great story, Kelly.
I mean, I think the third thing you mentioned, Stephanie, is the most important though, because I think you can. I mean, I'm not trying to shoot you down, but I think you can have willingness and not attract what you want. I think you can have, you know, you can ask people for things and not get what you want. It's not, and that's what's so confusing to people. Is like, I can see somebody watching this, I can imagine somebody watching this and going, okay, well, I'm going to do exactly what I want to go to chiropractic school. I don't have money, so I'm going to do exactly what Kelly did. And, you know, that person believes they got the same guidance that Kelly got, which was to ask their family and friends, and they asked their family and friends and they didn't get any money. And that's how they use it to be, you know, they'll use that as evidence to say, well, that's why this doesn't work. So it's not like, the key part is what you always talk about, Steph, which is it's your vantage point to the universe, right? It's how you're feeling, it's how you're aligned, how your energy is, how your vibration is, what signal you're putting out. Like, that's the key component.
And oftentimes we don't know exactly what that is, because sometimes something will come to me and I'll be like, I didn't even know I was feeling that good. And sometimes it's not that I was feeling that good, but I there was no resistance either. I was just in this kind of light mode of feeling. And then and we don't know, right? Like Kelly didn't know that was going to happen. And
well, but I mean, kind of. I mean, that's kind of what we're talking about here is that, you know,
she hoped.
Well, I mean, what Shin says is the way you get it is you believe it, right? 100%.
Yeah, a lot of times we don't have that. Like
I was literally
that woman,
right?
Scoville does. Like, what? I don't know if she was born with that and then it manifested, or if she grew into that. But obviously, when she writes and she talks about it, her belief is very strong. And then clients would come to her because some of them had more doubt. And so she was teaching them to have faith, to have belief.
Well, and I wasn't like 110% sure that this was happening, you know, that I was going to be able to do this. I was like, if I'm going to do this, this will work.
Well, but this is what I was talking about. But this is what I was talking about earlier, is in terms of working spiritually with time, is that what you were doing is you were engaged in a process in which you're having like this back and forth dialogue with whatever, spirit, higher power, universe, whatever. And so you actually specifically talked about that like you asked for guidance and this message came through human advisors, right? You checked that out with your, you know, internal compass, spiritual compass, whatever. You said, as far as I can tell, as an imperfect human, this is the right thing. So I'm going to do this. But then there's also this other piece of like, well, if I do this and like zero happens, I'm going to understand at that point that maybe my human compass was off, because spirit's never off. My human compass was off. Maybe I wanted it to come from those people too badly or something, you know, like my spiritual energy was off. So now I'm going to go back and I'm going to be open to guidance again and see what I get. And then I'll try that and whatever. So you're in this back and forth dialogue with spirit. And I would argue, like, yeah, you don't have to have 100% faith it's going to work the whole time. But by engaging in that back and forth dialogue, you're basically practicing 100% faith. Because if you don't have 100% faith, like, who are you dialoguing with, right?
One step at a time. 100% faith, one step at a time.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. It's like, just do the next thing with 100% faith. If your doubt creeps in right afterwards, that can actually be dealt with. But yeah, I mean, if you're not going to you're not going to probably listen to this podcast and then do stuff from it unless some of it resonates with you 100%.
Faith all the time, even like that one step, 100%. There's like, but if there's more, like Abraham talks about, if you have 51%, then you're ahead of the game. And it sounds like you had way more than 51%, and probably not 100% with every step, but you had more than 50%.
Yeah, but it's okay to, I don't know where I heard this, Collin. I know you've said it before, but I'm sure it's from somewhere. But it's okay to drive from Maine to California like 1 mile at a time.
Yeah.
Right. It's okay to do that without being like, okay, somehow I have to get to California. You know, it's okay to take things one step at a time and imperfectly. And I'm not sure if this is the right thing, but I'm moving toward, you know, what I'm led to do at this point.
And I love that. That's so true.
Here's the thing. And one of the things that jumped out at me the most about what you read from Florence Scovel-Shinn right there was about completion, because I think this is a really big thing with people and time and how they get tangled up and they don't finish things or they don't accomplish things they want to do. And I mean, I have so many examples of this in my own life. I'm not saying this as like somebody who finishes everything. I mean, one of my chief challenges in life is to finish, you know, either projects or achieve goals or actually bring the thing in that I want to bring in. And I'm great at first steps. I'm great at first, second, third steps. And I'm not so great at following through. And I think a lot of people struggle with that. Like, whenever anybody starts a new effort, if you are trying to lose weight, if you want to like find a new boyfriend or girlfriend, if you want to, you know, get a new car because the one you're driving is, you know, the wheels are about to fall off. Like, a lot of us are really good at, you know, like the first 3 days on the diet or the first 3 days of exercising or the first 3 days of saving for the car. And where we get hung up is finishing, right? And I think that it's interesting because in what your description of you following Scovel-Shinn's recommendation, it sounds exactly like that tool that I discovered this week in another location, which is, the thing about it is you do have, like, as a human, you aren't saying, well, because Spirit's in charge of everything, I mean, I'm just gonna go to the beach and not think about the steps. It's like, I think what Shinn seems to be saying is, like, just be open to any steps that might be suggested to you, you know, and do those, you know, and then, probably helpful to go to the beach and feel good at the beach if you've done that step for the day or whatever. But I think that's the thing that this tool I found. And then what's curious to me about what you talked about is, like, because I think a lot of people in that scenario might be good at somehow doing some of the stuff you said and raising a couple $100. You know, they might get a couple $100, and then that's where the challenge starts. It doesn't start from the start. It starts once they're in the middle of it and they actually have been working with Spirit a little bit. But then you could say like they lose faith, but I think what actually happens is they lose momentum. Like, they allow the momentum that they have at the beginning, like that when times that I've tried exercising, that's happened almost every time. I have all this positive momentum. And then something seems to interrupt me. Like, I have a day where, like, well, I just can't exercise today because I got to go to work, and then I get the thing after work, and and I'm tired, you know, and then that stops this positive momentum. But if I have some strong connection to the completion, I like completion better than finish, because finish to me just sort of means like, oh, I'm done, and, you know, it's, you know, like it's just over. I think spiritually, completion sounds like a better word, because it's like I can see myself achieving this thing, or I can see myself with this thing that I attracted into my life using the art of allowing, over time.
It is done.
But I think for humans, it's really important for us to have some faith in the completion part, because I think that's where like most of us get off track is like, I know so many people, like the whole fitness industry in the United States is based, and most gyms, there's a study done about how many people buy gym memberships versus how often they go. And it's like, basically, once you read that data, what you understand is that like all of the gyms in the United States are being financially run by people who don't go to them. Like the 10% that actually show up are being like subsidized by the 90% that bought the membership with high hopes, went maybe once or twice and then never got. And I did that for a year, by the way, in New York City. I went one time and I paid $110 a month for a year. And I went one time, and I subsidized people that were able to do completion and finishing, because I wasn't one. And so I think the thing I love about that story that you told is that there's completion to it, and completion was a part of the start. Like one of your first pieces of guidance was, or one of the first fundamental pieces of what you're talking about is, I need to manifest $5,000 into my life. Like that was the completion. Like that's, you would know this effort was concluded spiritually when you had $5,000 in your account dedicated to chiropractic school. And I think for so many people, it's really challenging they can see themselves being 100 pounds less, weighing 100 pounds less. They can see them having the car in the driveway, but they can't have the faith that they can get from the start to the finish. And what you talked about describes a process where you're in this dialogue back and forth with spirit, and that's how you get to the finish. And this tool that I found is the same sort of thing. On the surface of it, I'm a human just writing stuff down on a piece of paper. I'm writing like little tiny steps, and I'm writing dates, and like, what the hell does that do? And it doesn't mean, as I was telling Stephanie before we started recording last week, it doesn't mean that just because I put the end date of, December 16th, that's when I'm going to get the thing, or that's when it's going to finish, or whatever. But that's how I'm going to move forward with spirit. And I'm going to be in this dialogue. And if spirit says, oh, this step is going to take 3 days instead of 1 day, like you thought, no problem. We push it out. We push the completion date out 2 days. That's me getting the info from spirit that I just can't see as a human when I start anything. It's like, oh, that takes 3 days instead of 1. Okay. But I'm still engaged in an ongoing dialogue towards that completion, right?
Being a cooperative component.
Yes.
Acting. Yeah. Being a part of that. Yeah. You know, Kelly, I want to be mindful. We've kind of gone over the time that you had set for us to talk. And I feel like we've barely just touched upon this topic, because we didn't even talk about indicators, which I think is a whole nother discussion.
Yeah.
So, and
I believe I predicted early on that we would not talk about indicators.
Sure did.
You're so intuitive. I love it. And then, but we did touch upon leap of faith a little bit.
Yeah.
So would you like to come back at another date and
talk
more about that? Do you feel like you have more to talk about? Because it sounds like you really did a lot of deep diving into her work and
so good
information to share with us. Fabulous, because we love having you on.
I love being here. Thank you.
All right. Well, thank you for listening and or watching, whichever you did. You can send us an email if you like, cocreationstation1111@gmail.com, or if you're watching us on YouTube, leave us a comment. We'd love to hear from you. That's it for this episode of Co-Creation Station. We hope you have a wonderful, abundant, happy week, and we will see you next time on Co-Creation Station. Bye, everybody.
Bye.